Hello, folks. Today, it's gonna be one of these personal videos, and I'm gonna talk about, I guess, how I experienced depression. But before that, I just want to give a disclaimer. I am not depressed right now. I mean, you kind of see by the smile, but I'm not depressed right now. Admittedly, right now I'm a little irritated, but I'm not depressed right now. It's been about, it's just like the switch just went off in my head, and it's like I've been feeling really good for about 3 weeks, really just happy and content, at peace, and just like really energized, I just been, feeling really good. And I think if you watch some of my videos, you can kind of tell that I've been doing a lot better. And just oh of course I do get hyperactive. Like some days I'll just get hyperactive for most of the day, and other times I'll get like some moments, a few hours I'll be hyperactive, and then I'll kind of calm down. But yeah, I just been feeling really good. And so let's just put that there. But I want to discuss how I experienced depression. And I've been dealing with like depression off and on for years. I mean, probably a little bit before high school, I would say. I've been dealing with it for years and years, off and on. And typically, what would happen is that I would get very horribly depressed, you know, and then I would get horribly depressed, and then for a while, for a little bit, a while, and then suddenly like the switch would just kind of go off, and then I would get like really hyper and like energized and just like really feeling great. And then eventually that kind of activity will kind of come. It was eventually come back down and balance out to normal. And that's kind of how it was. That's kind of how it would be. And then I would get really horribly depressed again. The switch would go off, and then hyper, feeling good, and then back to normal, and then just constant battle with that. So I've been dealing with that for a while. Doing like this dance for a while. And I think if people that have been subscribed to me or have watched my videos and subscribed to me for a while have kind of seen that. I think people who have been subscribed to me for a while have seen that. I think it was last year. Was it last year that I retired HitmanVonDoom? I make this video. I just threw my power glove in the garbage, and I was really depressed at that time. I just didn't want to make videos anymore. It's like and I think people who have seen it, have seen me off and on with this dance, so to speak. And honestly, right now, I recently just came off a depressive episode. I mean, it was from August to like probably mid February, where I finally just the switch went off and I snapped out of it. So to speak. It's weird. I mean, and there was like no reason that I snapped out of it. I just bam. It's like I just got up and I was like, oh my god, I feel good, and that's literally how I've been for like the last few weeks. But yeah, the way I experience it is that people experience it different ways, but the way I can describe it is that I think I mentioned this in a comment when I first kind of came out about my struggles with this, is that it's like being a ghost. And if you follow me here, it's and the reason I say it is because it's like you're there, but you're not really there. Kind of like a ghost. A ghost is there, but he's not really there. That's kind of what depression is like. You're there, but you're not really there. And it's for me, it's like a dark cloud just comes over your head, And no matter what you do, no matter how fast you run, whatever, it just keeps following you over, and you just cannot escape it. And that's the way it was for me. I mean, and like I said, you've seen it. People have seen it earlier this year and last year. I mean, if you watch some of my videos, you could just see it, and it's awful, folks. It is like the worst. That is depression. That is like probably the worst physical pain. That is probably worse than any physical pain that I've experienced. And I've crushed my penis on some weights, and it bled. I wasn't lifting weights naked. That's another story that I will get into sometime down the line. But that will give you some perspective how horrible depression is. It's worse than any physical pain that I've ever experienced. It's awful. I mean, it robs you of just like, living your life. It just robs you of living your life and just enjoying the things in life, like the beautiful sun and like the video games and the people, and just it just robs you of enjoying anything. It's awful. And for me personally, the way I went through it is that the way I experienced it is that I one, I think one of the telltale signs is that I will start sleeping more. Like I will sleep. I'll start sleeping a lot more. Like I go to bed really late as it is, but but I won't like. But if I sleep at 4 a.m., I'll get up like at 11 or 12. But when I'm depressed, I'll stay up maybe to 3 or 4, but I won't get up to like 2 or 3, and I'll start like sleeping more. That's like kind of a so that's one thing that would happen. I'll like sleep more. Another thing is that I will like I cannot get out of bed. Like it will be an absolute battle just to get out of bed for me. I mean, I know in the past, like when I was on winter break from school, I remember and my father was on vacation or whatever. I mean, I had the whole house to myself, and I just remember all I did during that winter vacation is that I went to bed, I got up to urinate or eat something, and then bam, back to bed, and that's all I spent my entire winter break in bed because I just could not face the world. And then that's the way it kind of is. Like I cannot get out of bed, and like wake up like at 11 in the morning maybe, and I won't get out of bed till like 2 or 3, because I just don't want to face the world. I don't want to do it, and it got really bad where it's gotten to the point where I've actually missed a few classes of school because I just could not get out of bed. I just could not physically will myself to get out and live my life. I couldn't do it. It just, I couldn't, and so that's another thing that happened. Another thing is that, you know, I pretty much lose interest in anything. Like I lose interest in anything that I brought me joy and happiness and made me feel great, and I just completely lost any interest in it. Like I mean, and for example, I love comic books. I love comic books almost to a psychotic point. But you know, I just completely lost interest in comics. Like for me personally, like things are coming in the mail, X-Men issues, and typically when old X-Men issues come, I'm like really excited. But when I was depressed, I just didn't care. I was like whatever, and comic books, video games too, whatever, and YouTube videos even. Like I had brought no joy in making YouTube videos. It was no joy to me anymore. It was just like who cared, whatever, and you know, I just lost interest in it, and you saw that I kind of took a break for about a month, about a few weeks, and it's just like that. Like I don't like anything. Nothing brings me joy anymore. I just lose interest in everything. Another thing is that I like get really unmotivated. Like I have no motivation at all, like to get out of bed, and not just get out of bed, but like to even shower. I'm not even joking. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, my hygiene is questionable. I have great oral hygiene, but my normal hygiene is questionable at best. But when it comes to showers, it's like I was not showering I was going about like 4 days without showering. I know that sounds gross, but that's kind of how unmotivated I would be. It's like I just could not shower. I was like, what's the point? Why should I? What? Who cared? Whatever. I just like that sort of little stuff like that, and that's pretty gross and fucked up when you think about it. Another thing is that my appetite just completely plummets. Like I have no desire to eat anything. Like I'll eat something and I'll feel full, and yeah, I like my appetite would just go completely to the gutter. I just won't have an urge to eat anything. So that's another thing. And the biggest thing is just the absolute misery that you are in. I mean, for me, it was like 24/7 misery. Like, I just feel like I'm worthless. Like, I just feel like, one, like I'm worthless. Like, I don't, I'm worthless. I suck. Who cares? I just feel hopeless because at the time when I just got over a depressive episode, it was a long few months, and it just felt like what's the point? People are telling me, oh, it's on YouTube, oh, it's going to get better, and I'm just thinking, it's been months, it's been a few months, it hasn't gotten better, it's not going to get better, and when you're dealing with it for so long, it's like you lose hope that it's ever going to get better. Just completely hopelessness, just absolute like misery, just hating yourself, and just not, just feeling absolutely like crap all the time, and just feeling what's the point to anything. And, for me, everything that happened was everything was hollow. Nothing had any meaning. Who cares? And that's how it is for me. It's like I feel like shit all the time. Like, oh my god, like, and additionally, I also had the what you would call suicidal ideation. I don't know why I did air quotes, but that also happened as well. Like, and don't get me wrong, I didn't have any plans. It's what my counselor called passive suicidal thoughts, and so for that meaning that is that I didn't for me that being that I didn't have any specific plan, but I wasn't opposed to dying, so to speak. Like, for example, if someone came and put a gun in my head, I probably wouldn't have offered, at the time, I wouldn't have offered any resistance. I might have encouraged him. If a speeding car was coming right at me at 100 miles per hour, I wouldn't have jumped out of the way. I would have just let it hit me. That's what passive suicidal ideation, that's how bad it was. I mean, I couldn't care. I didn't care if I lived, died. I didn't care anymore. I just didn't care. It was like, who cares? I just I just didn't care. I mean, I was just feeling so much like crap. That's how bad it was. And additionally, I turned to some, self-injurious, self-harm behaviors, so to speak. I turned to did some self-harming behaviors. Like, I know one thing I would do is I would lift weights till I would lift weights, but I would go completely overboard, and I would be in exhaustion and just throwing up in a bathroom, stuff. It's not just cutting; it's that stuff as well. And so I did that as well, and because sometimes those feelings would get just so intense that I just couldn't handle it. I needed something to take my mind off it, and that was the only way I knew how. And yeah, so that's how that's kind of how I experienced depression for me. I mean, like I said, I no motivation to do anything. Shower, get out of bed, hopelessness, just feeling like shit all the time, and yeah, like I said, it's not good. And but yeah, and like I said, the disclaimer: I'm not feeling depressed now. I am good. You know, I'm not feeling depressed now, but that's how depression how I experience it. And folks, for those of you and folks, I just gotta say another thing: don't tell people that, oh, big deal, you got a great life, you have no reason to be depressed. Don't tell people to snap out of it. It doesn't work. It just makes that person feel even infinitely worse. I know it did with me. But yeah, so that's how I experienced it, and I just urge people that if you've experienced any of that, for the love of God, get help. Get help. Go see a counselor, therapist, get the ball rolling. Talk to someone, a friend, a parent, something. Because in my eyes, when you're experiencing that, you pretty much have nothing to lose, but everything else to gain. I mean, you cannot feel any worse than what you're feeling. So just please go get help. And yeah, anyone, that's kind of how I experienced depression. Thanks for watching.